meeting will now come to order. The chair calls on Assistant City Clerk Jenny Shavers for the roll call.
Councilman Harris.
Here.
Williams.
Here.
Avery.
Here.
Eccles.
Here.
Stewart.
Here.
Cannon.
Here.
And Reed.
Here.
We have a quorum present. The meeting is open for business. Brian Harbison will bring our invocation this morning. Please stand and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray. Almighty God, we just thank you and give you the praise today. We thank you for the freedom to come as citizens and be a part of a government. God, we just pray for wisdom today for these gentlemen as they make decisions. Pray for the mayor and his staff. God, we just pray that you'll help us today to conduct ourselves in an orderly fashion. Remember who we represent. We celebrate the life and the birth of a grandchild for Ivan. We just pray that you'll be with her and her family during this time. And again, we ask your wisdom and your blessings on our meeting, and we'll give you the praise in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the work session, council meeting, and finance committee meeting on March the 20th.
So moved.
Second. Clerk, will you take the vote?
All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries to adopt.
Chair will entertain a motion to ratify payment of the accounts for the week of March the 16th through the 22nd.
So moved.
Second.
Clerk, will you take the vote?
All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries to adopt.
Proclamations. Shane, Mayor's administrative assistant.
Are Marie Johnson with the Family Success Center and Joan Henry here today? Hey, Marie. How are you? We have a proclamation today regarding Child Abuse Prevention Month. Whereas children are vital to our state's future success, prosperity, and quality of life, as well as being our most vulnerable assets, and whereas all children deserve to have the safe, stable, nurturing homes and communities they need to foster their healthy growth and development, and whereas child abuse and neglect is a community responsibility affecting both the current and future quality of a community, and whereas communities that provide parents with the social support, knowledge of parenting and child development, and concrete resources they need to cope with stress and nurture their children ensure all children grow to their full potential. And whereas effective child abuse prevention strategies succeed because of partnerships created among citizens, human service agencies, schools, faith communities, healthcare providers, civic organizations, law enforcement agencies, and the business community. Now, therefore, Sherman Guyton, Mayor of the City of Gadsden, does hereby proclaim April as Child Abuse Prevention Month and call upon all citizens, community agencies, faith groups, medical facilities, elected leaders, and businesses to increase their participation in our efforts to support families, thereby preventing child abuse and strengthening the communities in which we live. Approved, signed, sealed, and dated this 27th day of March 2012.
Thank you.
If y'all would like to say anything, feel free.
Go ahead, Marie.
Look, Bob says, go ahead, Marie, it's fine. Good morning. I'm Marie Johnson. I'm director of the Family Success Center, and as you see, it is Blue Bow World up here for our city councilmen, and you also have gifts that were made from one of our after-school programs. They're magnets to go on your file cabinet, so please enjoy your gifts this morning, but we hope that you see blue ribbons all over this community. It is a fight every day against child abuse prevention, and we know that it is an education situation. I have several volunteers and community partners here today. If I would y'all just take a minute and stand up real fast. If you are working with our agency, United Way Success by 6, we have Berry Center, we have representation from marriage programs and all. This is what makes this work in the community. So again, we appreciate so much your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Marie. You got a good audience here. You ought to tell them a little bit about the Family Success Center.
I will do whatever.
Give them a quick rundown.
Good morning again. Mr. Eccles says do this, but we are the Family Success Center, and we're in the new East Broad Complex, which has been so supported by this community, and we appreciate it so very much. Many, many programs in-house, and within that area of service with the new health department, the new DHR facility, a major scape change in that community, and we are so proud of how that community looks and how it helps families work together and be able to get through their crisis issues. So we are there to serve families. The Family Success Center will see over 10,000 folks with its programs in-house this year, and with community partners, there is no telling the effect that that group has on this community and for the families. So we appreciate so very much the community support as well as the mayor and council. It really has been a huge asset in this community and continues to be very effective.
Thank you, ma'am. Marie's done a great job.
Absolutely.
We appreciate what you do, Marie.
Mr. Eccles, Marie's we've got a lot of rock stars in our not-for-profit community, but Marie's one of the rock stars that we have that has that ability to not only manage the sensitive issues, but also manage the business element of it as well. So we really appreciate what you do.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And she's there. If you need any help, she's there.
And she also has a very good staff, too. Staff that works with her are very, very cooperative and very good people. So give them the accolades whenever you have an opportunity.
Thank you very much.
Okay, unfinished business, do we have none today? Number 9, this is a time and place as advertised to conduct a public hearing allowing anyone to speak in opposition to or in favor of an ordinance rezoning property located at 711 North 8th Street in District 3 from R2 multiple family residential to B3 Central Business District. The owner desires to develop the property for multiple uses, such as a storage warehouse facility or a distribution site. There are also future plans for residential and retail. Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to this ordinance? Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of it? Chair, this ordinance was presented today for the first reading, and the council will vote on it next week.
Mr. President, since there's no opposition at this time, I'd ask for unanimous consent to consider.
Second. Clerk, will you take the vote?
All those who would wish to consider the item as new business today, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
Ask for approval.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
This is the old General Times building that most of us are familiar with, so. There was no opposition at the Planning Commission meetings.
And the owners are here, and I appreciate them. I don't know if they want to say anything. Okay, they don't want to say anything, but I do know that they've been working diligently on the building, getting it in condition or in shape. I'm excited about the possibilities what could go there in that facility, so we're excited about that. So just want to speed the process on for them.
Is there any other discussion? Clerk, will you take the vote?
All those in favor to adopt the ordinance, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries to adopt.
And our next public hearing is a resolution ordering abatement of nuisance on property at 425 Broad Street in District 3. The last known owner is Sarah Moss. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to this resolution?
Mr. President, I'm Brian Harbison with the Building Department. Based on recent improvements, there was a building permit also taken out in January on this property. We're going to ask this case to be tabled for 30 days.
Make a motion with table.
Second.
Clerk, will you take the vote?
Those in favor to table the resolution for 30 days, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries to table.
Number 11, the public hearing is a resolution ordering abatement of nuisance on property at 437 Broad Street, District 3. The last known owners is Sarah Moss and Branch Banking and Trust Company. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to this resolution? Please state your name and address for the city clerk.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. I'm George Monk. I'm from Anniston. Address is 1007 Cynthia Crescent, and you're welcome to visit anytime. If I could divert just a moment, I know a number of you. I was city attorney. I think Roger and I might have started at the same time when I was city attorney for Anniston. I think we were around when they handed the laws down from the Mount. And we've been interpreting them ever since. But my last service to the city was as city manager for 4 years. So I say that to say that I'm entirely sensitive to issues involving the community and decisions that folks such as you have to make. I also will divert a little bit further and tell you that Kerry Payne worked with me over there in Anniston, and he came in one day and said that he had a great offer over here, and so he packed up and y'all inherited him, and I in turn brought in a fellow that had previously been your planning director. And y'all remember that Boston has that Babe Ruth curse on them because they let the Babe go to New York. I think Anniston's suffering the curse, and y'all still owe us some boot over in Anniston for that unequal trade. And if you tell the planning director that in Anniston, that's fine.
We wondered what happened to him.
Well, he's nesting over there in Anniston. Okay. I do speak here on behalf of the Moss family. And just as a matter of clarification, we have no idea why BB&T is listed as an interested party in this. They are not and have not been. For whatever reason y'all picked up on that, it's not significant to the issue before you, but nevertheless, that's just to clarify it for the record. Sally Moss is the record owner of that property, but as the council is aware, I hope, the Moss family has been fairly dedicated to the redevelopment of that block known as the Court Street District, and has substantially completed that half of it on the back side of the alley, and now we're dealing with Broad Street. In that regard, I've given you a packet of information which I hope you'll look at and consider. But the old warehouse in the back and its surrounding areas, they've done demo, created gardens, created an event center, which has been active and is booking up for the future in a quite active mode. The Moss family has put near about $1 million in that portion of that redevelopment, which I think is certainly consistent with your redevelopment plans here in Gadsden, which I applaud you on. This property that we're here on, fronting on Broad Street, and we came prepared to talk about 425, and we can do that with your staff. But that property on Broad Street is all a part of the family's plan to redevelop that entire block, less than itself, the parking lot that you own over there on the back corner. These properties are very important to the continuity of the plan. As with any old building downtown, there are certainly issues that have to be addressed that are very difficult, both in terms of uses and that are practical under economic circumstances, and being sensitive to the needs of the public. We are here on 437 then, and that's the subject of this hearing. And I want to advise the council that I think it was November 6th, November 8th, whatever, I came over here with the Moss family, and I think I called Roger, and he convened a meeting with your building inspector, your planner. Roger was there. We had quite a long talk about these properties and the broader vision of the development. At that time, confining my comments now to 437, there was not yet a determination as to what the family wished to do and was able to do in respect to that building. There were talks of removing the interior, leaving the walls as a facade and using it for parking. There were talks of actually going in and completing a portion of it for a loft-style apartment. The plans were in flux, and all of those had different dollar marks to it and different issues. We asked what the issue was, and I will say this, and I don't say this disrespectfully to Brian Harbison, but when we get a notice of condemnation, the notice states that we are a nuisance because of all of the issues set forth in your ordinance. It could possibly be a nuisance. We were uncertain as to what the real issue was that the city wished to address. And that got clarified somewhat at that meeting. And in response to that meeting, at which time we said we can do this by this date, this by this date, and by April 15th, which we are not there yet, we will be able to present all of our plans to your administrative staff and work with Brian, work with your engineer, and so forth to address the issues that we were hearing in that meeting. No one at that meeting, it was made very clear by your keen attorney, no one had the authority to say that the city was bound by anything said there, but we didn't hear any objections to it, and it seemed to us to be a plan. Pursuant to that, we hired a structural engineer, an individual that the city has used, and we wanted to use somebody that you were comfortable with, to go in and look at 437 to address Brian's initial issues that the walls were not sufficient enough to bear winds and could fall, a public safety issue. In your packet, you will see a report from the structural engineer. At that time, we were asking the structural engineer to look at us being able to demo a portion of that building, a floor of that building, if not 2 floors of that building. Demo the walls and the ceilings and the roofs on that building to leave the walls. Could that be done? Was that, as an engineering matter, feasible? The report says that it is. That is feasible. There would be some cross bracing involved, but I won't go any further than that because I'm here to tell you the family agrees with Brian and agrees with the city. That building should come down. As a matter of economics, as a matter of reasonable uses, it needs to come down. And so when that decision was embraced by the Moss family, they talked to a number of demolition experts. And in your packet, you will see that less than 60 days ago that a contractor that has torn down significant structures and is well qualified, licensed, and bonded has given a proposal for what it would cost, and there's a contract in there as well that we stand ready, subject to some things I'm about to tell you, to sign and give him a notice to proceed to take this down. So I want to tell you out front, the family is in agreement that this has got to go. Now the question is, do you want to do it or do you want us to do it? What I read in the paper was from some source, y'all had $125,000 or thereabouts price tag on removing that building, and you'll see the price on that contract, which I'd rather not publicly discuss, but it is less than half of that, again, from a qualified contractor. It's kind of a repeat of a facade issue that we had on the 425 building a couple of years ago when the Moss family removed the facade and was working with the city, and the city was going to do it, place a facade up there themselves at a cost of $120,000. And instead of that, the family put the facade that now exists that you have pictures of on 425 for a little less than $20,000. That's important to us because certainly if you do the work, you're going to place a lien on what it costs you. And it's kind of silly to spend dollars foolishly. And so had that gone through on 425, we would have had a $120,000 lien. We got the work done for under 20. Same thing is sort of replicated with 437 with the price you see on the Uresco, or however you pronounce the name of that corporation, their bid versus 120 that I saw in the newspaper. Now, here are some complicating issues that I want the council to be aware of, and we've made the staff aware of this. There is that alley behind these buildings from 437 on down. And that alley is a private alley. Roger, we resurrected, it's terrible to put anything in writing. Roger, in 1988, Roger wrote a letter, said that y'all had searched your records and the abstractor's records, and that is indeed a private alley back there. We thought so. It was confirmed, and I think there's been recent confirmation of that. But in that alley, oddly enough, are some utilities. And I don't know the history of that. We're trying to get our arms around that. Most significantly, there's an AT&T cable about this big around that is lying on top of those buildings as it cascades down towards its ultimate user, this Lions Human Resource Group, who has written a letter to you gentlemen in support of the Moss's proposal. It serves them. I am in active contact with Frank Sims with AT&T, their House counsel in Birmingham, and he is as perplexed as we are about how they are there, by what right. Our recollection is that when y'all did your streetscape, or whatever you called the Broad Street Improvement Project, utilities were moved from the front of the buildings to the rear of the buildings, but they're there. And we can't touch a building, nor could y'all touch a building without AT&T being involved. And I'm getting good, warm feelings from Frank Sims that they will cooperate to assist the city in addressing an issue and to assist us in helping the city address an issue. I was speaking with him as we came in this morning. More complicating is the fact that there is a telephone pole, and it's an Alabama Power telephone pole right on the side of this building, this far from this building, and something's got to happen to that. You cannot work around those lines, so we've got to get Alabama Power involved. We didn't realize this issue until AT&T pointed it out to us here recently. And I got to be a little bit careful here because I represent Alabama Power Company, but I think that might get me the name of the person that I've got to get to help us solve that issue as well. And then easements get in place and we clean up, an issue on easements in that alleyway, and we're able to do it. What I'm here to convey to you and to ask the council is allow us to do the work. We would not be in a position to, you see that this proposal has been signed by the contractor. And there's a contract there that he has reconfirmed. He is ready and willing to sign. And we will sign it as soon as we get these, and give a notice to proceed, as soon as these issues are resolved. And we would say to you, that's not going to be but maybe 60 days. That's it. If it's not 60 days, then that's a drop-dead date. So I don't know the reasoning behind the 425 continuance for 30 days other than we have done work that was designed to address issues that Brian brought to our attention with the neighboring property next door to 425. But I would ask that you table this one as well for the 60 days. If it's not done, we'll be back here and you do what you have to do. But that would give us adequate time, we think, absent some real legal entanglements with AT&T or Alabama Power. That would give us absolutely the amount of time necessary to get those issues resolved so we can sign this contract, do the notice to proceed, and get on with it. And we would get on with it at the cost that you see on the proposal and on the contract. It would not be your risk of doing it. And I would point out there's hefty risk in you doing it because there's a party wall between 437 and the next property owned by the Mosses. And I don't think the city wants, or its contractor wants to get involved in what almost is inevitably damage done to party walls when you start dropping old buildings such as that. So that will be our risk, and we can do it, and whatever happens to our adjoining property happens. I would be happy to answer any questions from you, but it's important to the Moss family that they continue to maintain ownership of these properties for the further development of their master plan for Court Street. I will tell you that that plan entails returning those buildings along Broad to their original construction and scope. As it is now, they're over 100 feet in depth. Originally, when those buildings were built, they were like 50 feet in depth, 50 or 55 feet in depth, which frankly, no one wants to lease a long building with all that goes into it. Commercially, you just don't find those tenants that are wanting that type of property. Their plan is to reduce those buildings along the back to their original 50 feet for your boutique-style commercial enterprises that seem to be looking for places to go as they have gone in their existing Court Street renovation. You've got tenants in there that's developing and sales tax for you. That's really, as a matter of practical economics, the way that those buildings should be handled. It's going to entail knocking down the back of the roofs, putting the back in, have courtyard green space in the back, And that is their long-term plan and desire. They've done quite a bit of work in the 6 years that they've worked on the courtyard district, and I can't tell you that it's going to take a year or 2 years to do the rest of it. I can't tell you that. But what I can tell you is that in respect to this building, let's take it down. We agree with that. Please give us that time to do that, and if not, we'll be back here before you, or you're back in call or whatever. But we think that with the utility issue can be resolved fairly quickly. Now, how quickly the utilities work to remove the facilities for that demolition, I can't speak for them, folks. I just can't do that. So I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have, any member of the council.
You've given some good information here relative to pictures and agreements and letters. Do you have a documented timeline that you can share with Brian and the city?
Well, I think the best, Councilman Williams, we can do today is tell you that within the 60-day period, we'll have this contract signed unless we really get entangled with these utilities. And in speaking with Frank Sims, I don't think that's going to happen. Now, there needs to be a negotiated easement put in that alley, and I can't speak for how long that'll take, but Frank, in speaking with him coming down 431 this morning, he said, well, certainly we can move the cable that comes across the building so your contractor can get in there within that 60-day period. But then we got to deal with Alabama Power, and I'm sorry, I'm not on top of that one yet because I've not worked that one yet. But in 60 days, I would say we may come back to you. There may be some abnormality or something completely unforeseen at this time, but you'll see that the proposal is to take that building down in a 3-week period of time. So you give us the 60 days, sign the contract, we give the notice to proceed, and I'd say within a month, the structure is gone.
Yeah, and I guess what I'm after is the proposed timeline kind of gives us some level
Right.
of meaningfulness as it
I agree
relates to
with
the path forward.
I agree with you, and that was part of our meeting in November that, had sort of pegged an April 15th date. And as I say, that committee we met with had no authority of the mayor or of you folks, but, it's given us some
Which building
direction.
is a power pole behind?
I'm sorry?
Which building is the
They're
power
actually,
pole behind?
It's on all of them.
Mr. President, there are 3 power poles along the span of that private alley, but one of them is right on the corner of this building, and there's a picture of it. One of them's right on the corner of this building. I mean,
I thought
this
that
far.
one was on the corner of the alley. Is the alleys between that?
That is a private alley. That is the one that we're talking about. You've got your AT&T cable that comes down Fifth Street, comes off Broad, comes down Fifth Street, pops up out from underground, and then goes up along the building to this pole that is right on the corner of 437. And I don't think a contractor is going to be happy about working that close in to that pole. It's going to have to be moved in some respect anyhow. But to be more complete in my answer to you, Mr. President, there are 2 other poles as you traverse down that private alley towards this human resource group, Lions, that Alabama Power has facilities on, AT&T has facilities on. I'm not enough versed with it to know whether your cable company's on there or not. But it all serves Lions, and that's all that it serves. And they have been talking to AT&T about rerouting service to them. But certainly that district is going to need utilities in that alley, whether it's private or public, they're going to need service. And what Frank Sims and I are talking about is let's get all this cleared up by, if they can't find what their legal right to be there is, we're going to create one. We're going to create the easement and get that in place for them. And I can only speak about my talks with AT&T because I've not gone to the power company, and that may be a circumstance where I have to bow out and I can't negotiate for 2 sides. I'll let Mike Haney handle that for Alabama Power. He's their cohort over here.
Hey, Mike, just safety of the other buildings involved, and I know they own them too. Is there a firewall down in the middle or between those 2 buildings?
Yes, sir.
There is a
You're talking about
firewall?
437?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
There is a firewall.
Yeah,
between
almost
those.
all of those have firewalls. I know there is a wall, there's a common wall between, well, I say it's a firewall, Bob.
Supporting wall.
It's not a firewall to burn standards, fire code.
Freestanding wall.
Yes.
I knew we used to, rate classifying,
Right.
There were.
That's correct. I doubt that it's up to that standard.
Yeah.
It's a common wall, though, between them. Any further questions that I can help the council with on this? We appreciate your consideration and ask for your forbearance today, and if you want to put it off 60 days, that's fine. If you just want to table it, that's fine, but we intend to work with whoever you tell us to work with, which we'll continue to work with Brian and your staff on this.
You got to finish the public hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you to sit down.
Is anyone else who would like to speak in opposition to it? Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of it?
Mr. President, we started this case in August of last year, and there have been no improvements. There was a building permit taken out to repair in January of this year, and the amount of improvements on the permit, for whatever reason, was listed as $2,000. I'm not here today to address anything other than the building. You're looking at 437 Broad Street. As far as the alley that's been mentioned behind the building, that's yet to be determined whether or not that is actually private or somewhat public. How that alley was once conveyed, we're still in the early research on that. I need a resolution today to abate the nuisance. And the reason I need the resolution is the complexity of this demolition because of the close proximity to the neighboring buildings and the public sidewalk, public street, other utilities in the area. The demolition has been turned over to our engineering department, who's going to handle this through the bidding process. But they need a resolution so that they can begin the preparation and the packets that are going to have to be developed in order to send out to the private contractors who may bid on this project. Like I said, it is complex. It's not simple. But, you know, for the sake of the downtown area, we're asking today for a resolution. Thank you.
Brian? You're saying that you want to have the authority to tear the building down rather than any possibility of them doing it with their contractor?
We need a resolution to abate the nuisance, and our plan is to remove the building. If something's worked out in the meantime, we certainly will not deny the property owner a demolition permit and allow them to do this themselves. But we're asking today for a resolution for that purpose, to begin demolition.
Wouldn't it not be simpler to give them a timetable, a 60-day table or something, and let them do it, or you know, what's
Well, I'm not saying on the city's behalf today that we're not going to deny them that opportunity to do it. I need a resolution today so that the city can proceed with its plan to abate that nuisance. And if they can come forward, and realistically, Chad may be able to address this, realistically, we're talking about probably several weeks to get all of this worked out before it's even, you're the body that has to award the contract. So this case is going to be back before you know it. But I need a resolution today so that we can begin that process.
But if we do vote to abate this nuisance, the property owner still has some time to abate it themselves. That's what I want to make clear.
That's correct.
And certainly we won't look like it would be simpler if they would do the
We would
abating.
issue them a demolition permit today.
Brian?
Okay.
I would ask that we do that. I'm in favor of going ahead with the abatement and then let it be on
Well-
time set, instead of coming back before us again. You know,
Well-
at the end of
Roger,
that
we-
60 days. Do what, Roger?
Period, still going out of business.
Well, I'm still going to tell you how I'm going to vote.
Yeah, we got
I
to,
mean, my goodness.
I'm waiting for the hearing to be over with so we can
I
discuss
don't
this.
want them to be hurt any way, but I don't want it to come back before this council.
I want to
again
wait
either.
till the hearing is over with so we can discuss this.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Any more questions?
I guess that's all the questions for right now.
Okay. Let me.
Is there anyone else who would like to
Oh,
speak in favor of it? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. President,
There is someone in the back.
You'll have to come to the front. State your name and address for the city clerk, please.
My name is Jane Jones, and my family owns 423 Broad Street, which is the building next to 425. And I appeared before you back in August about the problems there that we have been addressing for several years, not months, but years. And we still cannot get into our building and finish remodeling and fixing it where it's usable because we're still getting leakage and water coming from 425. So I'm here to ask you, when is the roof on 425 going to be properly repaired so that we have clearance that we can continue and put more money into our building? Like I said before, ours is going downhill because of lack of work done on the others. I know you said that there was something done, $2,000 worth or whatever. I haven't had my roofer go up and look at it. I'm assuming that you all are checking on that. But that's my question. The sooner you can get the roof fixed on 425, then we can get done with our work and open our building in 423, which we are very anxious to do. So, and then the other question while I'm up here, you're talking about this privacy thing on this alley. Okay, does that mean that we can't put our garbage out there when we open? We've always had a dumpster. So what are we going to do about garbage pickup back there at the back of our building if it's private and they won't let us come back to pick up garbage? We don't have any place to put it. You can't operate a retail business without a garbage dump. So that's another question I have concerning this. But my main thing is the roof on 425 being fixed as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Brian, did 425 has been delayed for 30 days, right?
Right.
Would we presume
What-
that is for them to get the roof fixed?
What we would do in the next 30 days is allow the owner under the current permit that they have to continue the repair work to the roof. I have personally inspected, as recent as yesterday, the portion that was repaired. You know, a roof's a roof. Until it rains, you never know. We will keep an eye on this situation and work with the Jones next door to ensure that what work has been done has in fact corrected that portion of the problem with that entire roof. If it has, then we will release 423, which Ms. Jones is the owner of, to be used as a business. Right now, anytime you know, we have water running into a building creates multiple problems, and we can't allow the general public to access that until that's corrected. So that's why we're here today. But based on the fact there is a permit and some repairs, it's typical for our department to ask for some additional time, and that's what we're doing. But we will continue to assess and provide whatever inspections we need.
Right.
And if at the end of 30 days there's been no other work or the problem's still there, I'll bring a new recommendation to you at that time.
is it a known fact that 425 is creating a problem for 423? Or could 423 have a problem too?
423 does have a relatively new roof. We have done some very thorough inspections from that building all the way west to the end of that block of Broad Street. And it's our determination based on the evidence we've seen inside that that's where the water is coming from.
Okay.
Brian,
Okay.
I'm going to ask Brian just one thing.
Go ahead.
I remember on 425 before, I thought we had an agreement when Ms. Jones came before that they had so long to fix the roof on 425 to quit leaking onto 423.
That's right.
How long has that gone
Well,
past our agreement?
That's where we are today. The owner, before the public hearing could be held today, obtained a permit in January. There was some improvements to that portion of the roof.
Okay.
And it's just, that's why I asked for the case to be tabled, to give us a time to assess whether or not they've actually repaired that portion so that there's no more water coming into 423. We're not releasing our case at 425.
Okay. I just knew we had an agreement before.
Right.
And now we're asking for
And
another agreement.
we're actually working with the owner, which is typical in these situations where you have some improvements, some permits, and I stand before you week after week. Typically ask for a resolution, but in some cases where there has been some movement forward, we'll ask in all fairness to the owner for some additional time, and that's what we're asking today.
Like these 423, we need to get that thing settled off so they can get in business and start
I agree.
being productive.
I agree.
It's time. Okay. That's all I have.
Okay, let me just say, this is in my district, and this has been a political situation, and we need to take the politics out of this and do what's right. And these people do have a permit. Brian issued them a permit, and it's to my recollection, anytime we issue a permit, we give people time to work on that permit. They've asked for 60 days. And based on what I've seen here and what I was told, because I didn't read the article in the paper as to how much it was going to cost us to tear the building down, I don't know why we would want to enter into a contract or obligate ourselves at this point in time for that particular amount of money, particularly since we got another building coming up that's in my district that I have some major concerns about as to whether or not we can afford at this point in time to tear those buildings down. We can't afford to put $500,000 in some buildings that we're going to have to tear down or whatever it's going to cost us, and we can't recoup our funds. If the property owners are going to dispose of them, then that's going to be to our advantage. So I would ask this council to do a 30-day table, and at the end of those 30 days, let them come back and talk to Brian and see what the progress is. I mean, why would we want to hurry up and spend $100 and some thousand when they've got a contract here for a lot less than that? It just don't make sense. So I'd ask for a 30-day table.
That's not what I understood Brian to say.
I know what Brian said. I'm not talking about what Brian said. I'm talking about what I said.
Okay, well,
And I asked for a 30-day table.
and I asked for us to do what Brian asked us to do. We've moved with this thing for years now.
I think you're absolutely correct.
I asked for the
That's what I
30-day
said a minute
table.
ago.
I make a motion, let me put it that way.
So I've got and I know Brian has sat down, but I've got a question for Brian. So I think I understood him indicate that they tend to start or at least begin the demolition process in about 3 weeks, or that process will begin in about 3 weeks, if I understood him correctly.
Let me explain.
Now, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I would think that why should we spend money to go through that process and sit and wait for them to tear it down? Why can't we just table it and save whatever few dollars it's going to cost us at this point in time? It just don't make sense.
I think it will speed the process up, Robert, if we go ahead and vote to abate it. I believe
Based on what the-
Moses and Mr. Monk will get busy and abate
Based on what
that thing. I believe it'll be
again, this
gone.
is based on what the attorney just said, and based on what you know and we all know, dealing with Alabama Power, dealing with the phone company, it ain't going to happen in no 2 or 3 days. Again, I would ask for the 30-day table. Let's look at where they are in 30 days. If everybody's so anxious and want the building to come down, I can't figure out why everybody wants the building to come down, other than, like I said, again, it's political. Why would you want a big vacant lot on Broad Street anyway? Number one. Number two, again, we've been picking on this particular piece of property, these particular people, and I have a problem with that. when we're going to try to treat them different than we treat other folks. If people got a permit to work on the building, we give them time to do so. Now, all of a sudden, we want to rush it up because it's politically expedient to do so.
And they've
I don't
had
deal in
time.
politics.
They've had it since that.
I understand all that, but we shouldn't have issued them a permit if we were going to do this. Again, I asked for the 30, I make a motion, I don't ask, I make a motion that we table it for 30 days.
Can I say
and
one more thing?
Yeah, go ahead, before I make the motion.
If we vote to abate it, and there's $100,000 for us to do it, and it's hanging over their head, they're going to abate it for half the price. I know that. But we need to have this in place so we don't have it coming back up here every 2 months. I would say we abate it.
I hear what you're saying,
All right.
but what if we have to go through the process and they still haven't cleared all that up? We got to clear it up too.
That's exactly right. But we've got to vote on other things before that process ever gets there also.
And again, I just say, I don't know why we need to spend money to start the process.
We won't spend a dime.
Why is it that you're in a hurry to do so?
Because I can see the thing gone. They want it
Because the
gone.
people want to, you got enough folks in here who
The
wants to
Mosses
have it
want the
done?
building down.
Sure, they want it
do.
down.
So we abate it. We don't spend the 100,000. They spend half that amount, and they do it, and we don't have it coming
Why,
back up.
why
here
would I
in 2
spend
months.
half the amount when the city's going to spend the money? And I can just save my money.
Robert, they don't want to lean on that property.
He doesn't want to lean on it.
They don't want to
That's-
lean on
that's
that
the
property.
reason. They don't
Okay.
do it
So they're going to
Okay.
abate it for 50 instead of spending 100,000 with us.
Okay.
That just makes sense.
If you, go ahead, okay. If you think that,
I know that.
okay.
Okay.
Because if it comes down to I got to spend money out of my pocket,
Yeah.
and the property ain't going to be worth what they're spending. So why should I spend that money other than sentimental for them? That's why they want it.
But you're not going to
But
spend
if,
any money.
but if you're going to go through and spend the money, and then I can save my money and put it to the work on my other buildings. I mean, come on now,
If
let's
the
be for
city-
real.
if the city puts a lien against it, the city will foreclose on that lien and
Sure.
take the property, so they
They're
they
not
don't
going to let
lose the
that
property.
happen.
And we're going to get,
They're not going to let it
Let's-
happen.
We'll
The
get-
attorney
let's-
speak.
let's-
We'll get-
He has some knowledge for us, maybe.
Let's let everybody
We'll
talk
get-
at one time.
Okay.
Wait
Okay.
just 1 minute. We have a motion on the floor
No,
at
we
the
don't.
table for 30 days. Do I hear?
We don't have a
We
second.
We don't have a
We
second.
don't have a
You
motion.
get a second.
There's no second. We
There's
don't
no
have a
second
motion.
yet.
Okay,
We have a motion
Was there a
to
motion?
table
no
the-
second.
the resolution for 30 days. We
There's
we
no
have no
second.
second.
That's what she said, there's no second.
Okay. So, the attorney wants to speak back here. Does it?
I don't have a problem.
Is that okay?
That's okay.
Let him speak.
All right.
If this, I know how Aniston's ordinance works, and Roger, I'll have to lean on you on this, but when you pass a condemnation, building permits are off because you take control of that process.
Absolutely.
Now, what problems is that going to create for me when I'm dealing with AT&T and they know that you guys have passed something where you're going to abate it within 60 days? Are they going to be talking with Brian? We've asked Brian in the past, help us with AT&T. Use the city's influence to help us get some attention of AT&T. We've sent emails to AT&T and not gotten responses. We weren't able to get the assistance that we requested, just the power of the city, the influence of the city with the utilities. But what problem is that going to complicate for me when I'm sitting there trying to deal with AT&T saying, we're taking it down, and there's a condemnation order under which you guys could immediately take it down. Now, Brian could go get a contract and cost out the demolition in this next 60 days. You know, that is all correct. He could bring a contract back to you in 60 days for your consideration if we fail. But you're going to substantially impair my ability to work with these utilities. And the whole public-private thing is a red herring. It's really not the issue here, Councilman Reed. We're going to take this down.
Absolutely.
And we know that you guys have worked for years on Pittman Theater, and, you know, it's a wonderful thing that you have. You get to work out on it as money allows, and we're going to do this in 60 days, gentlemen. There's no need for this condemnation order. You can order it 60 days out from now, should there be some problem, and we have totally failed. And that's not going to happen, Mr. President.
saying
Mr. Reed,
that
that's not going to happen.
Brian's saying that he's going to give you the chance.
Well, I hear that.
Okay.
But, I mean, how do I deal with AT&T when they ask me, is there a condemnation order? How do I deal with them?
You tell them
The
there's
second-
one and they ain't gonna deal with you.
The second
That's how you
issue,
deal
and
with it.
I ask this as a point of inquiry, under our ordinance we operate on in the city, Once it comes time to fix a lien on that property, the property owner is entitled to a hearing, and you have to vote that lien. And I assure you that if, just because, for whatever reason, the city wants to take this down and it costs $120 and we've got a contract in our pocket for less than half, we will object to the imposition of a lien.
Absolutely.
That is any more than what we are showing to you and are ready, willing, and able to sign. And so I don't want the city to risk its dollars in whatever it might cost, 120, 140, and incur the risk of that common wall between it and the next door building, when we can do it without you doing that risk and without the risk of us coming in and having a real fuss over the amount of the lien that y'all put on it as being unreasonably excessive. And I say that not as a threat, gentlemen. This is not.
It's a fact.
It's a fact, and it's something that we can resolve, and I would ask to be back in front of you in 60 days. That is it. It's as simple as that.
Roger, do you agree with that assessment?
Yes, sir. I think that would be the best course for the council. The preparations for the city to award a bid could be made in that time period. The engineer would have to likely consult a structural engineer on what needed to be done, which would be an additional cost to the city, which we have not incurred.
One other question. I know this is a historic district, and it's my understanding, as it is in Anniston, that you've got to go get a certificate of appropriateness from the body that votes for the demolition of a building in a historic structure. That's not our timeline. We would like that to happen tomorrow, but it's up to whatever that group is, downtown Gadsden, whatever that is. So we've got to go through your regulatory stuff too, gentlemen. We've got to go through, and I think the city even would have to do that under your historical ordinance, Roger. I defer to you. You'd have to do the same thing, but we're going to do that. We'll go and get the certificate of appropriateness. We'll get the demolition permit from Brian or whomever at the city, and we'll do the work. It's just, Councilman Reed, I understand your anxiousness over it, but it's going to complicate things. And
I go strictly on partially past performance.
I hear you.
And I want the thing to come to a concluded end.
We do too. And
Once and for all.
if there's a failure in 60 days, sir, it's yours. Okay?
I follow.
At this time, I make a motion that we table it for 30 days.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
You can't discuss the table.
Roll call vote.
This will be a roll call vote. All those, Harris,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Eccles,
Yes.
Stewart,
Reluctant, yes.
Cannon,
Yes.
Reed.
I'll blow it in the middle. I'm going to abstain on it and sit back and watch for 60 days.
The motion
30 days.
carries.
30 days, I'm sorry.
30 days.
Okay.
I don't
The
know how that's
motion
going to
carries
affect their
to-
plans, but
Well.
it'll certainly move things forward quickly.
Motion carries to table the resolution for 30 days.
Same as we had passed
So,
off the
Mr. President, are we open for comment?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I think the big thing that I do want to point out here is that, one, I want to thank our city attorney for stepping up and giving us the appropriate guidance as it relates to this. I think this council, I think everybody here can see that this council is very sensitive to what the residents have had to deal with, and what the property owners in that district and in that area have had to deal with. So we're very sensitive to that, and I don't want there to be any misstatement of the council's understanding of that. However, we've got a proposed, or at the very least, an assessment that indicates that this could potentially cost the city over $100,000 in terms of the demolition. And we've got a property owner who's committing at some level within the next 30 days to show good faith to proceed with the demolition for less than half that expense. So I think at the end of the day, if the property owner doesn't move forward, we'll be revisiting this, and we will be less likely to entertain any delay in terms of this whole process. So I think that's something that I want the property owners to rest assured that the city's more or less trying to be good stewards over our resources, and at the same time be sensitive to a very, very sensitive issue. So
I probably need to go ahead and address that now, because I'm going to have to leave in a few minutes here, because I've got to get off to Virginia. I agree, Deborah. I want to take the politics out of this, and it's good to stand up here and grandstand when you got folks who wants to do something, and I could have very easily done that. But I'm looking at the city funds and the city business, and it's not good business sense for us to enter into a contract or go even get close to a contract. Well, it's going to cost us twice as much when the people are willing to do what we're going to do. And we sit here all the time and we give people opportunities, particularly when they've got permits and stuff. And to make this any different, because you've got folk here who are opposed to them with the building and they want it to come down, I have a serious problem with that. Whatever you got against these people personally, you ought to go to those people. Don't bring it to the city and try to put us in the middle of your fight, because we're going to do what's right and what's right for this city. So at least that's what I'm going to do. So if you got a personal problem, go to them and deal with that, but don't bring it to us.
Okay. I don't think I have a personal problem. We've discussed this. I don't think there's any politics in it on my behalf. I live on a mountain. Got half Alabama City. What I went on is past performance. Past performance.
Do the people
And
who
I've
use
watched
that
it.
politics?
I don't see any politics in past
Past
performance.
performance.
So that's where I base my abstention.
And you also based it on the fact that some of those folk who are opposing to it live on the mountain who vote in your district too.
Really? I didn't see anybody out there, but if anybody out there in District 7, thanks for coming today. I appreciate it.
I've got plenty of people sitting out there.
Yeah, I think Bob's got all.
Hey, Bob, that's what I'm saying.
The past performance has been terrible.
Yes.
Mr. President, I guess I'll weigh in on this also. Back when this situation was presented to us back last year about the 425 on Broad Street, we sat here and we said we understand how the citizens downtown would appreciate anything that beautifies for that downtown Gadsden. We appreciate it. We said we appreciate what has been done, the beautification, the modernization, everything that's been done downtown, but we had something there that you wanted removed. And I think we all agreed with you that something needs to be done about that problem. Okay, nothing has happened, and we're at the position now to where the owners have given us a commitment, you and us a commitment today, that within 60 days they will
30 days.
30 days, but the lawyer said 60, but within 30, so some time frame we have there, depending on what can be done with AT&T and Alabama Power Company. We have a commitment from them to remove this blight from downtown, and at a savings that is substantial as far as the city going in there tearing it down. Be patient, and I understand you want it down, but let's work with them. Let's work with the lawyer and the Mosses on getting that building torn down within a reasonable amount of time. And like Councilman Williams said, I promise you, on my part, if this doesn't move as it should move, as they've been committed today, we won't show any mercy when they come back before us.
I think all the council members feel that way. And again, like I say, you give them 30 days, and let's see where they are with Alabama Power, and let's see where they are with the telephone company in negotiations. And if they're moving forward, then you give them that time, however much time the Alabama Power or the phone company say we need to move those lines. Once those lines are moved, then you've got a drop dead date that they need to do something. But to do it now is just ridiculous to me.
I think we've beat this as much as we can. The only reason that I voted yes on the table was because our city attorney says that's what we should do.
That's right.
And so...
Yeah, let's move on.
Let's
It's
move
30
on.
days and the clock's ticking, so let's move on.
And I got to go.
We need to vote on the table. We did.
We did.
Okay, let's go on then.
Number 12.
Number 12, our next public hearing is a resolution ordering abatement of nuisance on property at 520 Chestnut Street in District 3. The last known owner is Stephen E. Smith. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to this resolution? Please come to the microphone and state your name and address, please.
I'm Stephen Smith. I'm the owner, current owner of the building. And I've written down most of what I want to say where I won't forget, leave out something that I wish I'd said when I was, if I didn't write it down. Okay, it has been said that the city has had many complaints about the Nugent buildings, but I don't think that should have any bearing on coming to a decision whether it would make sense to demo a building that would cost over $1 million to get it to the point it's at right now. People without vision wants to look at my building as being dilapidated, but what I see is a very sound structure that's just incomplete. It's all the floors are concrete, the walls are concrete, there's no wood structure in that building whatsoever. There's nothing to deteriorate beyond this point right now. I've only owned this building for less than 24 months, and just in that period of time, I paid over $3,000 in property taxes. I have already completed all the demolition on the interior of the building. The building is now ready to be put back in a usable condition. After 25 years of listening to complaints, or so the city says, about this building, now in the worst economy in many years, this administration wants to consider putting me in a situation where no one could come out a winner, not the city, not the taxpayers, and not me. I have spent lots of time trying to catch, one complaint is people getting in the building, marking on the building, some of the stuff I've done to secure the building, they're just going to just kick it in. And that's something really I can't control. I mean, they broke windows out to do it, unless I kept an on guard there all the time. I've spent time trying to catch kids in the building. I don't know when they're going there, but I can't catch them. I've went all hours of the day, all hours of the night, Saturdays, Sundays, anytime I thought that they might be in there. It upsets me every time I see more paint on the building because something I have to clean off. Some months back, some teenagers were breaking out windows in the back of my building. Even a witness saw them, reported to the police department. The police talked to them, and they admitted breaking out the windows, but I could not press charges because I did not see them do it myself. I was at home in bed. I have asked for more police assistance, and I'm not saying that they have not tried. I really don't know. But the Gadsden police, I thought to eliminate that problem, if they had a sign maybe made by them where people were having the police involved in this, we can't deal with this because I can't catch them over there. And I know that's been a big issue, people getting in there throwing stuff out the windows on the church buildings and so forth. I don't want the churches around this building to be upset with me, but it don't change the fact that this is a great building to rehab. There's no other buildings of this type in Gadsden, and this building needs to be here in the future after we're all long gone. If the city doesn't want to hear complaints, they can send them to me. I have talked to many people about this building. Most people over 45 have been to a doctor, a dentist. Many have worked in the Nugent building in various businesses. Many businesses are thriving businesses today started in the Nugent building. So this building has a lot of history when you get to talking to people about it. Would you not think this building's history needs to be preserved? What would have happened if we had started demolishing all the buildings on Broad Street a few years ago when they was all in bad condition? The buildings could not be demolished without doing damage to the church connected to this building also. There'd have to be roof repair done, the side wall, the adjoining wall would have to be taken care of. When I first purchased this Nugent building, I talked to a city official about the type of windows I could put in the building. Got no response. I asked questions about the grant on the front of the building, about dividing it up in more than one grant because of the different sections that the building is divided up. I got no response until a few weeks ago. I asked somebody again. And this is not Kay Moore that I'm pointing this at. I asked for a meeting with the mayor to discuss the building to see what I could do now just to keep the complaints down and make more people happy that have been complaining about it. I know we can't make everyone happy. Again, no response to talking to the mayor. There's 2 different times I thought I could get a meeting with the mayor. Well, we'll call you back and set this up. He's busy this week, and that has never happened. I have talked to Brian on several occasions about the building. He has explained some plans that the city had talked about in the past. Before I purchased the building, I did not know of an urgency to complete the building because I myself had watched the building for about 20, 25 years and thought that'd be a neat building to buy and do something with. I was only urgency to complete the building only that everyone wanted to see some progress, and I understand that. Brian has always been helpful to me as a contractor and as an investor in this city. Anytime I've needed him, need to ask him a question, he's always been helpful. I'm not trying to say anything whatsoever against Brian. I know he's doing a job. It would never make sense to me to demo this building, basically a $100,000 structure. It wouldn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that's what it costs to get this 7-story building up to the height it's at right now. And to spend $150,000, $250,000 more to demo it, you can do the math on that, it just don't never work. I now have a building in Gadsden that attempts were made to condemn. I get rents out of that building now of about $70,000 per year. I've got 2 businesses in that building that pay occupational taxes, and one of them has a significant amount of employees. And other fees that may contribute to the city because of that license and so forth. And one of the businesses relocated in my building from Rainbow City, which city wouldn't have got no revenue off of that, but Rainbow City didn't have anything but accommodate them at the time, and I did. And they've been in this building for a couple of years. If I did not rehab the building I was just talking about, then the city wouldn't have to get anything out of it. It would have just been torn down. It would have been history. No one ever knew the revenue that could have been would have been lost. And I'm a contractor that don't. I'm not a slumlord. All the houses I got, everything I've got is in good condition. I do it all in good condition. I don't do it until I can do it right. And this building is a major undertaking, and we've sat on it this long, and I need some time to regroup. The economy has affected me just like it has everybody else. I put properties up for sale that's not income producing property, thinking that I could sell and dump money in this building. That's what I was going to do. Well, that hadn't happened yet. In the right perfect economy, maybe it would have, and I could have proceeded on to getting this building in a better condition. Now, I am willing. I wanted to talk with Brian and the mayor and just get everybody's understanding. What could we do to preserve it to a point that nobody's upset, just sits there and people feels happy with it or can let it go. Brian told me a few ideas he had about putting steel on the windows and different things, which was just very, very costly for the city to do, which I could do myself in my business. But now, I am willing to go clean the property up. I'm willing to secure do everything I can to secure it. Brick up the elevator shaft or block it up to where the kids can't get in it and climb up in it. I can't prevent them from breaking windows. I can't prevent them from knocking the wood out. That's something I have to have help with. I just have to have some kind of help on people watching it for me. I thought about maybe right now immediately I could put windows on the facing building on the left side. That's the most eyesore part of it. That's what everybody sees when they come from City Hall and come down the road there. If I get windows in that section right there and board up all the windows that's still open, that's the proposal I'm making at this point in time to preserve this building, give me an opportunity to proceed on with it, because there's nobody I talk to that's not excited about the potential that building has. That's all I got.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak in opposition to this? Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of it?
Mr. President, we started our case in November of last year. There have been no improvements to the property. There are no active permits as of today. We're asking for a resolution to abate this nuisance. Thank you.
Brian, I have a question. What's the approximate cost of demolition for this building? You have an idea?
Somewhere in the neighborhood of $140,000. And we've looked at the cost of sealing it. As Steve mentioned, I've talked to him about doing it. I've talked to him about the city doing it. And the best estimate that we can come up with, there are over 110 windows in that building. So you're talking about having to seal those up, plus the first 2 floors. As you can tell in that picture that was taken 4 days ago, one of the large plate glass windows is actually broken out and is accessible to the general public there. That's been an ongoing concern. But the cost of sealing that building in an appropriate manner that would not give the appearance of a 7-story boarded up window is somewhere in excess of $70,000. So we just feel like with the building removed at this point, as long as the city has had to deal with this issue. Besides the neighboring businesses and churches in the immediate area. We just feel like the most cost-effective thing to do at this point is to remove the building and create some additional parking.
You know, I was just looking at the article here. It was my understanding that when we looked at this a long time ago, that it was going to cost us about $250,000 to tear it down.
That's right.
So you mean to tell me the cost has gone down at this point, or you?
That estimate I actually gave to the council prior to probably 10 or 11 years ago. Demolition technology has greatly improved since then, and the abatement is probably 85 to 90%. The asbestos is probably 85 to 90% abated at this point. So that was a great deal of cost. Plus, there was a four-story, if you'll remember, four-story addition on the back of this building at that time, which had to be taken into account. But what you see today is a very narrow building. It is wide, but it's very narrow, and we feel like with the right contractor, and again, this is an issue that will be brought back to the council. This project will be bid out. The engineering department will also handle the pre-bidding process here too. So that's where we are.
You know, again, Mr. Smith to me, has brought a valid argument about his businesses. You know, we had a meeting at the community development meeting earlier this morning, and this is what I've been talking about on that loan program. I mean, his business and his building would be a prime example of where we can put some seed money in and get with the local banks to help develop property and help develop businesses. I still have a major problem when we start just tearing things down, particularly when they're sound structures. You know, if this building was not that sound, then I would have no problems with it. Can't we do this? Let me ask this, because we're getting ready to meet with the bankers. We're getting ready to set up a program. I think he might be a prime candidate for that program. Can we, again, table this for 30 days till we figure out what we're going to do with this program ourselves, revisit it, and if he is a candidate, then good. If he's not, then we can always come back and tear it down. I hate to see that $100,000 and some that we could spend to tear it down, we could put into that program. You follow what I'm saying now?
Right.
Does that make sense?
Well, I'm standing here with a 21-year history that I've worked here, and so that, you know, that's what I'm speaking to today.
I figure 21 years and one more year ain't going to hurt.
You can make that argument.
I know, 21 years, we haven't done anything, nobody's done anything. Let's give us a little time. Let's see if he can't fit into what we've been trying to do when it comes down to businesses. I understand your problem, and you know I support you 100%. But
my recommendation is for
that.
resolution, and the council's obviously.
And my recommendation, again, is to table this, and maybe we don't need to give it a time frame, because we can bring it back up at any time if we don't give it a time frame, so.
We got a 30-day precedent.
Well, we can just table it indefinitely, but we'll do a 30-day table. I'd ask for a 30-day table.
Second.
All those in favor?
I don't think we've discussed this quite enough to jump into a table right now. Of course, I can't discuss it because there's a table on the thing.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to discuss it, I don't have a problem, but I do have a problem.
I would like to say
But
this. Mr. Smith.
Let me remove my motion to table.
Okay, because
If you
bring
remove
back
it.
my second.
Okay, now go ahead.
Mr. Smith is a reputable contractor. He's done some good work around town, and you know, we were real thrilled when he bought it and thought, you know, something was going to happen. The reason that I'm so concerned with it, I'm a member of First Presbyterian Church. The people have gotten into that building over and over and over again, kids or gangs or whatever they were. Our previous chief of police said it's too dangerous for the police officers to go in there, so he forbid them to go in after these people. So we've had graffiti on our church, written all over our church building, where they can go up in that Nugent building and just step right out on our roof on our church. It's that close to it. And they've written all over our church. They did about $6,000 worth of damage, throwing cinder blocks out on the roof of our church. And I look at that old building, what kind of money would it take to rehab that thing? Do you have the resources? We're looking at, God knows what it would take, with all those windows and to do anything with it. How could you possibly come up with the money to rehab it, is what I'm wondering. I just don't see it.
Bill, I do see it. Let me say this, and of course, he hadn't talked to me, he talked to Brian, some other folks, but I have a consulting business. We work with nonprofits all over this country to do housing, multifamily housing, other type of businesses. There are a lot of things he can do with that building. There's some money out there available to help him. But again, nobody's asked me, so, you know, if you ask me, I can tell you some things. But again, I'm through. I just think we need to table it since we've talked about this, and I understand the problem you're having with the church, but I just think we need to table it.
We've had two eyesores here in Gadsden, as long as I can remember. One of them's a railroad bridge and the other's a Nugent building. It's just terrible. The back of the building is piled up with debris and grass growing up knee-high. I just, if we do table it, I just don't table it long.
I just asked for 30 days.
This was just a 30-day table,
Yeah.
and that gives you, Mr. Smith, 30 days to make some kind of improvements or do something with that building.
Come up with a plan.
Yeah, come up with a plan, because it will
30
come back
days.
up.
30 days.
Come up with a lot of money.
30 days. You know, I didn't hear, you know, I'd like to hear, I understand the history in the building, you know, and I understand, you know, that other businesses graduated from there and went on to other places, and there were, you know, taxes generated by the building. But, you know, we need to hear something more concrete than what I've heard, you know, here today about plans for the building. It's complete, and I admire Mr. Smith for purchasing that building. I don't know much about his other endeavors in the city of Gadsden, but that particular one is really an eyesore. It's really an eyesore, and it's been that way for a long time. And I don't hear enough of a plan or an idea or anything that's going to happen anytime soon, because we can't hinge this on us coming up with a loan program that the city and the banks are going to have to sponsor when we're talking about an individual business. You know, I don't know how we can't hinge it on 30 days based upon us coming up with a program that we can come up and get banks to loan them money. We need to have something, we need to hear something more concrete about a plan.
Let me do this then, if you don't mind, since you want to do that. Let's go back to the top, because there's another building that's an eyesore in my district, and we just approved it with no questions. We didn't ask the owners anything as to what they plan to do, and that's the old General Time building. So if you want to go do all of that, why don't we put them through the third degree too and find out what they're going to do with the building?
Oh, well, wait a minute. General Time was a rezoning.
Well, but again, that was a rezoning, but the same thing, we should have been, that building should have been torn down too, but we give people time to work on stuff, so. Again, I make a motion to table for 30 days.
Second.
You take the vote.
All those in favor to table the resolution for 30 days, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
We have one no. Motion carries to table the
Mr.
resolution for 30
Smith,
days.
if you will, get with me, please. Let me give you some suggestions. All right.
Mr. Smith, you have the same set of rules to operate under as
Everybody.
as the Moss family did, and as everybody, in that we really need to see some progress going forward. Otherwise, you put the council in a very difficult position 30 days from now. So again, we ask that you move.
I'm going to say at the very end of this thing, I voted no because of the time, and so I'll say it again based on the other one. I'm going to sit back and wait in 30 days and see what happens. I just don't have any confidence in
I
it.
think we just prolonged a couple
I
of
do too.
problems for 30 days.
But that's exactly why I voted no. It's time we stood up and stopped this silliness.
Next one.
13 is the next public hearing, is a resolution ordering abatement of nuisance on property at 501 East Chestnut Street in District 4. The last known owner was Darlene H. Young. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to this resolution? Does anyone like to speak in favor of it?
Mr. President, this case involves a burned house, burned sometime in December of this past year. There've been no improvements, no permits to improve. We're asking today for a resolution to abate this nuisance.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of it? Chair will entertain a motion to adopt this resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Clerk, will you take the vote?
Those in favor to adopt the resolution, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries to adopt.
14 is a resolution rejecting bid 3197 for rehabilitation of structure at 519 Turntine Avenue. This bid will not be necessary because the property owner has taken responsibility for the needed repairs. Chair will entertain a motion to adopt this resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Clerk, will you take the vote?
Those in favor to adopt the resolution, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries to adopt.
15 is a resolution authorizing agreement with Black Creek Revival. This is for performance at the Smoke on Falls, to be held on April the 14th. The Chair will entertain a motion to adopt this resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Clerk, will you take the vote?
Those in favor to adopt the resolution, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries to adopt.
This is the first reading of an ordinance amending City Code 2-253 regarding Gadsden Museum of Arts and History, regarding name, size, eligibility, and selection process for members and ending terms of all existing board members. This ordinance was presented today for the first reading, and the council will vote on it next week. New business, is there any new business?
Mr. President, I have an item I'd like to bring up and ask for unanimous consent to consider. This is an ordinance amending fiscal year 2012 capital improvement fund budget. I'd ask for unanimous consent.
Second.
Clerk, will you take the vote?
Those in favor of considering the item as new business today, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, permission is granted.
I'd ask for passage.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Mr. President, as you know, we did fund the Airport Authority, the Commercial Development Authority, and the Industrial Development Authority for 6 months at the beginning of the year in our budget. And basically what we're doing now is amending the budget to fund them for the next 6 months.
Robert, is this level funding?
This is the
Same
level.
as it was funded the first 6 months?
This is the level funding. You know, we were looking at some of their reserve funds just to see what they had
Yeah.
and see how they were going to work out. But this is level funding.
Level funding.
Yeah.
Any other? Clerk, will you take the vote?
Those in favor of adopting the ordinance, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries to adopt.
Any other new business?
Yes, Mr. President, I have a couple of items to be considered under new business today. One is a resolution authorizing change order, the first change order for the Angelo I-Freight Construction Company for all materials, equipment, and labor required to increase the size of the pedestrian bridge abutment in the amount of $26,711. I make a motion that we consider this today.
Second.
Clerk, will you take the vote?
Those in favor to consider the resolution today, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, permission is granted.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Yes, Mr. President. This is, as it relates to the Black Creek Trail project, and I guess the key point to note here is that the original bid was based on an initial assessment that called for us to drill at a certain depth, and of course, it was determined later that in the attempt to hit bedrock, and of course, it was determined later that we were actually going to have to drill further than the original assessment indicated. So this change order is to account for the additional cost associated with the additional drilling.
Any other discussion? Clerk, will you take the vote?
Those in favor of adopting the resolution, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries to adopt.
Okay, I have another item, Mr. President, that I'd like to consider today. This is a resolution authorizing public hearing on proposed economic development agreement. I make a motion that we hear this today.
Second.
Clerk, will you take the vote?
Those in favor to consider the resolution today, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, permission is granted.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Those in favor of adopting the resolution, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Did you get a second?
Did.
Okay, I didn't hear it.
We didn't discuss.
We didn't
need
discuss
to.
what that
We
means.
were going to discuss if I'd heard the second.
So, Mr. President, this is some good news. Wish we had taken this up to begin with, so we could have gotten the benefit of the crowd. But this is definitely some good news in that the Longhorn Steakhouse is planning to move to the city of Gadsden. They are a business operated under Rare Hospitality International. They're proposing a $2.1 million investment to demolish the existing fish market building and construct facilities and purchase services for operations. And of course, they're projecting bringing in 30 employees. So I don't want to preempt, and I may have already, Lisa, but I don't want to preempt any. Don't want to preempt any announcements that are forthcoming. But this is all good stuff for the city of Gadsden, and more information is ahead of us relative to this project. So this is definitely a good one for us.
Is there any other discussion? Clerk, will you take the vote?
All those in favor to adopt the resolution, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries to adopt.
Is there any other new business?
Yes, Mr. President, I have a resolution authorizing change order number 1 for Nakalula Falls Playground Project in the amount of $5,290. I would like for unanimous consent to consider today.
Second.
Clerk, will you take the vote?
Those in favor of considering the resolution as new business, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Permission is granted.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
This concerns the extending of 125 feet of pipe, a double wall pipe with a concrete inlet at the Nakalula Falls playground that we are erecting now.
Any other discussion? Clerk, will you take the vote?
Those in favor to adopt the resolution, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries to adopt.
Is there any other new business?
Yes, Mr. President. From the engineering department, I have a resolution authorizing change order number 2 for El Deco for Nakalula Playground project for $7,670. That is for a 105 feet of 3.5-inch PVC conduit for electrical extensions at the for electrical services to be extended at Nakalula Park.
Got a
I
second.
ask for unanimous consent to
You got
consider.
a second before you may.
Got it, man. And we're moving on.
Gotta get out of here.
Those in favor to consider the item as new business today, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, permission is granted.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Clerk, will you take the vote?
Those in favor to adopt the resolution, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed,
Is there any
the
other new
resolution is
business?
adopted.
Department reports, committees, boards, are there any? Citizens' request, Cynthia Pierre, me as a line dancer to upcoming conference. Please give your name and address for the city clerk.
Hi, my name is Cindy Pierre. I reside currently at 2708 Hickory Street, and I am the instructor for the Gadsden Line Dancers. On behalf of our founder, Ms. Delma Smith, and the entire Line Dance group, we would like to thank you for allowing us to address you today. We have come here to request the honor of each and every one of your presence at an upcoming workshop and party jam that we're going to try to conduct on May 19th. This conference is going to be held from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. at Convention Hall, and we would like all of you guys to come down there and show us some of your moves. If you don't have any, we'll show you how to get some. We're inviting dancers from all over the city of Gadsden and the surrounding areas such as Birmingham, Atlanta, Florida, Charleston, and beyond to come to our city and attend this conference. This is a circuit that the dancers, some of whom are here today, we frequently travel on a weekly basis. We go to these cities and attend conferences there. And each time we visit one of these cities, we're always asked, when will Gadsden host a workshop? So we're now able to answer that we have it set up for May 19, 2012, okay? We are going to be teaching things such as the electric slide, the wobble. You want to learn how to do the Texas two-step, the tush push. We're going to have instructors that will be coming in town from all over the United States. We're also going to be having dancers that are going to be coming in from all over the United States, okay? These are dancers that are going to be coming in. They're going to be staying in our hotels, eating at our restaurants, and visiting our sites. So we're hoping to show them a good time, and I would like to at least have you guys come down and welcome them to our city and tell them, we're happy to have you here and please come back. We're going to be holding several fundraisers to help us out with this endeavor. We're going to be having raffles, car washes, anything that we can do to defray the cost of this upcoming conference. But some of our more challenging expenses are we have to pay for the convention hall, we have to pay for security, food, and also we have to put up the instructors that are going to be coming in town to run this conference for us. Now, anything that we earn over and above our expenses, we want to set it aside as a scholarship for some deserving local senior for one of the local high schools. Okay, so we're not trying to make any money. Whatever we earn, we're going to give it right back to the community in the form of a scholarship that will be named for the Gadsden Line Dancers. So anything that the City Council can do for us to help us defray some of these expenses, we really would appreciate it. And if there's any questions that I can answer, you can reach me at 256-459-4386. I also have an email address of whitedolphinsbcglobal.net. So I really need all of your help to accomplish the mission that I'm trying to do it. We're going to do it, but I think we can do it better if all of us pitch in and help. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Remarks by the mayor and the council. Billy?
No, sir, Mr. President, I don't have any comments today.
Billy?
I know you're disappointed, but that's all right. I'll make up for it next time.
You're not going to get so lucky with me today. This will be quick. Just a couple announcements I've been asked to make. One thing, I do want to say as it relates to the building department and their business, I do want to commend Brian on what he does for us each and every week that he's called on to present these very difficult issues. Two things, and then I'll move past that issue because we've talked it to death, but the council has to look at the expense associated with demolishing these properties, and that's something, even with the smaller properties, that we struggle with. And of course, the consistency in terms of how we manage these. So bear with us. 30 days, to be quite honest, if we proceeded with those ordinances, we wouldn't have completed the process in 30 days. So I don't know that those 30 days are going to kill us. But I can assure you again, and I want to say this on the record again, in 30 days, if there's been no meaningful progress, then we'll at some level be forced to proceed. So we encourage the property owners to do what's right as it relates to that. Last things, I've got a couple of announcements. Sickle Cell Education Awareness Day is Friday, September 30th, and there will be an event sponsored by Quality of Life Health Care Services that will be held at Gadsden Regional Medical Center on March 30th, Friday, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So we're encouraging the public to support this. Adams Elementary School, in support of the Beautification Board, will be conducting a cleanup day on April 7th at Adams Elementary. So more details as it relates to that are forthcoming, but please support that event as well. There will be a Fitness Rocks event on March 29th at at the Gilchrist Boys and Girls Club and the Doggett Boys and Girls Club. So please support that event as well. And, Mr. President, that's all I have.
Bill?
I only have one announcement to make. District 5, our neighborhood meeting, April the 3rd, 5 o'clock, Gadsden Public Library, Lena Martin Room. So everybody in District 5, I understand our new chief, Crane, is going to speak. Whether he remembers that or not, but I think he's obligated himself. And in fact, I think he's speaking every night of the week, isn't he, Becky? So we appreciate him getting out in the neighborhood and certainly meeting everybody and hearing his thoughts. So anyway, Lena Martin Room, Public Library, April the 3rd, 5 o'clock. Thank you.
I don't have anything today.
Bill?
Oh, good. Listen, I want to report that the museum at Alabama City went over great. We had a capacity crowd. Next week, I'm going to thank everybody involved, but I wanted that known. Commissioner Larry Payne, who had bypass surgery, is back, and we're glad to see him back. And now we have an announcement by our Assistant City Clerk, who would like to say,
Well, the most important announcement today is the arrival of Gadsden's newest citizen, Iva's granddaughter. Her name is Evangeline Nicole Nelson, and the parents are Justin and Jessica Nelson, and grandparents Iva and Dale Nelson. She weighed 7 pounds, 2 ounces. They're doing great, and happened to be born on a Tuesday during council meeting. How appropriate for Iva, to have her granddaughter make her arrival in that way. So we're glad they're doing well.
and my newest voter.
And I got to tell you because Ben would mess up her name, so she's going to be called Evie.
That's with a V, E-V-I-E.
E-V-I-E.
Right.
I'll entertain a motion, we adjourn.
Good morning. I was not put on the agenda today, but I did talk to our mayor on last Friday, and he invited me to come to the council meeting. I am a member of the Union Baptist Church. I was here last year at this time. We received a proclamation from you all for a health fair that we did.
You know you're out of order.
I waved my hand.
If we start letting people just come when they want to, we don't
Well,
need to
I'm
have
sorry,
any rules.
but the
We
mayor...
do have rules.
Yeah, okay, but the mayor invited me.
Well, the mayor doesn't
Okay,
have
he's
it.
not here.
He doesn't
Yeah.
control the council.
He don't do this meeting. I think that's what he's trying to
Okay.
tell you. Yeah.
Okay, then, well, I apologize.
Well,
for
you need to ask this council if it's all right for you to
Well,
speak.
is it okay for me to speak at this time?
Briefly, please.
It's going to be briefly. I just wanted to invite our council, since our mayor cannot be at the health fair. He was there last year to welcome the different people from the different cities and whatever that's participated in this health fair. If we can get someone from the council meeting to come by and do a welcome for Union Baptist Church. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay.
What was the date and time?
Very good.
Huh?
What was the
The
date
health
and
fair
time?
started from 8 to 5.
On what? On Saturday?
Saturday, March the 31st.
Saturday. Okay.
My name is Carmen Johnson. 543-7840. Okay, I can give you this while you're on.
I'll entertain a motion, we adjourn.
So moved.
Meeting adjourned.